What's up, my fellow bookish lovers? I just like change the intro every time I do a video lately. Hello, I have all 3 kids, so you're gonna probably see all of them at some point. I look like a hot mess because I've done 2 workouts today, my own workout, and then my daughter, do you want to be in the camera? Decided she wanted to do a workout, and I did one with her. Say hello.
Wow.
Hello. He's a daredevil, can you tell?
Whoa. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we're starting this vlog. Is it better? No, that's bad. We're sitting in the window. What day is it? Today's Thursday, the 23rd, I believe, and it's day 4 of the reading rush. So let's talk about what I'm reading right now. Actually, let's go back a minute. I finished The Color Purple by Alice Walker this morning. Give it a 4 stars. I wasn't as invested in some of the story as I hoped to be. There were parts of it that went on.
What's up, boys?
Oliver wants his own YouTube channel one day. But like a gaming channel, I guess. There were parts of it that were slow, like parts where I was kind of finding my mind wandering and drifting off, and I just wasn't as invested in the storyline in segments. The second, I would say the final third of this book really reeled me in, emotionally speaking. I was very invested in the characters and what was happening. I got choked up at a part, actually 2 parts. Overall, I think it's a great read, and I think that anybody who hasn't read it and has been considering reading it because it's classic, I definitely recommend checking it out. So that is my 4th read of the reading rush so far, which leaves me with 6, 7, yeah, that's it. I am reading the Woods Yearbook Edition Volume 1 right now. Can you see my bookmark? Not really, because it's rose gold metal. This is how much I have left, so I'm gonna finish it this afternoon, absolutely for sure. It took an interesting turn. So I've only read the first volume, which I think were the first 3 or 4 chapters in the past, and then, which is like, I don't know, this much of it, approximately. At that point, I had seen the separation of the group of people who left the school building. I should back up a little bit. This is like an apocalyptic scenario where there's these lights and flashes and bangs in the middle of this high school day, and all of a sudden there are these creatures coming through the windows and trying to eat the students. So they have no idea what's happening on the outside world or why this is happening in general. As far as I had read, a group of students decided that they weren't going to get any help by standing in the high school, which was starting to break down into like cliques and people who wanted power and had their ideas up front and wouldn't listen to anybody else. So they venture off and get into some shit in the woods. Then there's stuff going down in the school, people are killing each other for power, etc. So it goes beyond that now, and it took a very weird turn. You're starting to go back 200 years because there's a bigger thing happening, and how do I say this? There's a lot of angsty teenage stuff happening. There's a lot of queer representation within this. You've got at least one female-female relationship and a possible male-male relationship, at least 2 queer men anyway. There's a lot of like love drama happening within that, people jealous of other people crushing on people. It's high school, so it makes sense. It's just not my like cup of tea. And this weird storyline that's happening from 200 years previous, and also mixed into present day, I'm not fully following. It feels a little disjointed, so hopefully in the next, I don't know, what do I have left, like 20 pages, it clears up a little bit. But there's Yearbook Volume 2 as well. I'm gonna see if my library has it. Right now it's like $30 on Amazon, which is pretty expensive for a graphic novel, even a bind up. So not gonna go ahead and buy that yet, but if I can get my hands on it, I would like to see where this goes. So then when I finish that, I'm either starting A Sprinkle of Sorcery by Michelle Harrison or Meaty by Samantha Irby. I'm probably leaning this route just because a middle grade should be easier to get through, maybe. Though Samantha Irby's, while it's a little dense, her stories are just so funny and humorous that like it kind of flies by. But I think this would be the safer option because like if I want to get as much read as I can before this reading rush is over. I don't have faith in myself that I'll be able to finish both of these, but we will see what happens. That's my update for now. I'm trying to decide what else I want to add to the vlogs. In my last one I showed you a couple meals that I had made and some of the like homeschooling workbooks we've been doing this summer. I don't know, I feel not uninspired, but like I feel like I'm out of practice in vlogging, and I see people do these like really beautiful vlogs with great music going over them, and I just don't know how they do it. And also my house is just terribly lit, and because we rent, we can't paint, and I hate like the wall color. It's not good for photos. Everything in here is washed out and yellow, and I don't get a lot of natural light, and when I do, it's blazing sun in our back window, so I just don't have a lot of like good shots. We are hoping to move early next year once our lease is up, and if that is the case, then hopefully I will be able to make better vlogs then, but that's still like, I don't know, 7 or 8 months away. So I guess the future will tell. That's it. I am going to, with the kids have some workbook pages to do, and I will try and get the woods done, and I'll probably update again tomorrow to let you know what I've chosen.
What's done?
The Woods is the book I'm reading. Let you know what I've done since then tomorrow. Also, we've been reading Fortunately the Milk by Neil Gaiman with my kids, so I read a little bit, and then we do like a drawing activity where we all draw our favorite scenes, so we're probably gonna do that. All right, I gotta go deal with the kids. All right, bye.
Whoa.
Can you say bye?
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, look at you picking your scab open. Blow kisses.
Miss Debbie. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, quick update. It is now Friday. We're at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yesterday I did finish The Woods. Where did I put it? I don't know. Hold on a second. Okay, finish The Woods. I give it a 4-star. I think that the storyline started to, I mentioned in the last clip, go off the rails a little bit, and added in this like storyline from 200 years ago that just it took me out of what I had already been like reading and what I'd signed up for. So I lowered it a little bit for that, but you'll see the clips that the art is just stunning. I really enjoy the art style, and the storyline's fine, but you are definitely dealing with a lot of high school crushes, and if that's something that like you're not interested in reading about, it might affect your enjoyment because it's very angsty crushes. But there is a male-male crush and a female-female crush, so we do have queer rep, and I recommend it if you like to read graphic novels that are a little bit sci-fi, a little bit fantasy, and take place in the high school age. So then I finished that, did some work with my kids, drank a new protein shake, and all right, everyone sees your slime. It's cool. Go sit down. Just ignore her in the background. The protein shake triggered an attack. So after having 4 or 5 days of feeling better, I was insanely sick last night. I think that artificial sugars are a trigger for me, in case anyone cared. So I started a sprinkle of sorcery, and by started I mean I really read very minimal of it while I was trying to ignore the fact that I knew I was about to fall into an episode, and because of that, probably, I just don't feel like reading the book. My 2 books left, A Sprinkle of Sorcery by Michelle Harrison and Meaty by Samantha Irby, are books that I'm really, really anticipating reading, and I really want to enjoy them, but I'm just not in the mood for them right now. And mood reading has been my success the last month, up until the reading rush, where I decided last minute to put a TBR together and try and stick to it. But we all know me, and it's just not gonna happen. So I'm not feeling middle grade right now, and I'm not feeling nonfiction right now. I really want to read horror. I asked on Twitter what some horror recommendations were, and I got an audiobook of a horror, I don't remember the author, but it's called The Chain, and it was suggested to me by Kylie, who I will have linked down below, and I might start listening to that at some point today. But also I contacted my friend Jamie, who I talk about a lot because we do a lot of buddy reads together. We have very, very similar taste, and she's a horror fan. And we both knew we had this book, and so I was like leading into asking if she wanted to read it, and then she was like, hey, you want to read this? So I'm gonna read The Changeling by Victor LaValle. This is a book that I saw come up a lot when people were making suggestions for Black books to buy from Black businesses, and this is one of the ones I went with because I have really been in a horror mood lately. I think I'm ready for fall, I guess. I know very little about it except it has to do with family and like a child, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna use this for the prompt of like a book that you touch, because they were very vague about it and said like do what you want with the prompt, so I'm gonna do that. When it comes to place, I might try and find a graphic novel that fits the like some other place which was suggested by Always Booked, who I'll have linked down below, and I thought it was a great idea because it can guarantee that I'll at least get one more prompt done if I pick a graphic novel on my phone. This is a little bit thick to try and get to in 3 days, but Jamie and I have done crazier, so you never know. Stay tuned to find out. Okay, so I read it real quick to tell you that this is a story about a guy named Apollo who had a weird relationship with his dad from the sound of it, and his father passes away and leaves him a box of books as well as recurring nightmares. He grows up, he has a wife named Emma, and they have a son together. So while they're trying to navigate this transition to parenthood and how tired they are, the exhaustion of it and the anxiety that comes with parenting, he thinks that his wife is starting to experience postpartum depression up until she commits some kind of heinous crime, and she and her son go missing. So he has to like follow them, and he goes to a forgotten island, and all these weird things start happening. This might work for a place as well. We'll find out. In any case, the baby just went down for a nap late because my dad showed up to give the kids, he likes to give the kids snacks and stuff. My air just turned on, so I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna wrap it up real quick. The air is right here. He showed up, so we got to see him. I haven't seen him in a while because I've been so sick that every time he's asked to come over, I'm like, I'm too sick to come downstairs. That's how bad it's been, in case anyone's wondering. It's why I've been gone a lot lately. That's it. I'm gonna try and read a little bit while the baby naps is my point. I'm waiting on a new pair of training shoes that I'm really excited, and I'll probably show you in a clip because for whatever reason, I hate spending money on practical things like shoes, but the shoes I'm wearing right now for my fitness training they're wrecking the bottom of my feet and my knees, so it was time. And I'm a Nike altruist when it comes to shoes specifically. I also really like their apparel. Whatever, I'll show you the shoes. I'm excited about it. I was also excited about the protein powder, but it betrayed me. I'm used to that though. All right, I will check in with you later. I'm sitting in a really weird part of my house right now because my kids are eating dinner and watching a movie. I can't go upstairs because I'm the only adult. This one's already done with his dinner. Okay. All right, go watch the movie. I'll get you dessert in a minute. Personal note, I think some of the reason I've been so sick is because my period started early. So my face is breaking out. My struggles flare up a lot twice in my cycle. So now it makes sense, and probably is why it's affecting my mood and why I've been like mood reading a lot, etc.
I have a loose tooth.
She has her first loose tooth and she's obsessed with talking about it. So a book that I finished today that I haven't talked about because I started it before the reading rush and I wasn't going to talk about it, but I did finish it today. Like I put it on hold to listen to, what did I listen to? Oh, Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, but I didn't expect to get through that so fast. So I just, whenever I needed an audiobook, I continued listening to There by Tommy Orange, which is a book that is about groups of Native people that it all centers around this powwow that's happening, and you're following multiple characters and going through all of their afflictions and all the daily things they deal with. God, my hair's a mess. I washed it today and it's puffy. Curly hair, fun. Dealing with alcoholism or the loss of their identity or finding their identity, or whether it's important to have Native identity. And it was so well done. I gave it 5 stars. It's probably 4.5. It's gonna stick with me forever, which is why I rounded up. All right, I had to stop to get them Freezy Pops. So, kids are so difficult. Eat your popsicle and you can get out in a second. Okay. They've never had Freezy Pops before, isn't that crazy? Well, I think the older two have, just when they were much younger and we could spend summers outside. That's my summary. I give it 5 stars. I really loved it. If you like literary fiction, if you want to read something written by a Native author about Native people, which I highly recommend, this is one that I recommend. So if you like my adult literature, my 5-star reads, I would highly suggest checking it out. It's one that's been on my radar for a while. I had it in my cart at one point, like 2 years ago, a year ago, something like that, and I just never pulled the trigger on one of those like window shopping internet things. So what I want to update you about is that, as I mentioned, I switched reading gears because because I wanted a horror novel, so I'm reading The Changeling by Victor LaValle with my friend Jamie. We always have such great buddy reads together that it just made a lot of sense, and it is working out really well. This novel is weird. I'm 176 pages in. I'm not sure percentage-wise where that puts me. We're not halfway yet. I'm not going to finish this before the reading rush is over, that's for sure. But not at all what I anticipated. The beginning starts out very just adult literature, and I didn't expect that at all. But yet we were both like, this is really good. The writing is awesome. There are lines that we've like exchanged back and forth that we really, really like. So this line that I shared with her that I really loved is, our main character Apollo goes to a restaurant to meet his very pregnant wife and her best friend, and it's a very posh restaurant in New York City, like super expensive, $45 dishes. So they're really, really tight on money with this baby coming in 2 weeks. You can't touch. You can sit right here.
Whoa! Whoa!
Hello. And the line is, the median age of these customers is billionaire. Even the busboys in this place were white.
Hello,
I really loved it, and that's very indicative of a lot of the writing within it. The main characters are two black individuals. One is half black, and then they have a kid together. And all of that, like up to that point, is very... Can you stop talking for a little bit?
Mama.
Up to that point, it's all very like lit, but then the horror starts coming in, and it's starting to ramp up. Very many trigger warnings. The first aspect of when the horror kicks in is a very, very brutal scene. Even in the description of the book, it says that the wife commits an act of atrocity and then disappears. So that's not a spoiler. It's pretty fucked up. In any case, I gotta get these kids ready for bed. I'll talk more about it tomorrow when the kids aren't crazy and getting ready for bed, because it's bedtime and we can tell that. All right. Hopefully I feel better tomorrow. I get a lot of reading in.
Night, night.
Night, night. Say bye-bye. Blow kisses.
Night, night.
What's up? It's Monday. I've got some errands to run. I'm just gonna go ahead and do my very minimal makeup to run the errands. I didn't update at all yesterday, not at all, because I wasn't feeling well. What else is new? In light of a lot of things that have happened the past couple days regarding the reading rush and the hosts and their, we'll politely call it missteps. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it was all over Twitter, but they did a couple shady things. But among all the things, I won't get into everything. The main thing is that the group book had been Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, which is a book I read back in February when it first released. It might have been released end of January. Regardless, I read this in February, so I didn't add it to my TBR because I'd read it. So I wasn't gonna reread it in a week that we're supposed to read 7 books. And the hosts didn't finish reading their own group book and then casually joked about it during their live. And the only reason I'm bringing it up, because I don't like to discuss inner booktube drama or like booktube Twitter. It's just not something that I try and focus on. I think that was wrong. And I can't believe the tone deafness from the start of the readathon with having a prompt to read outside all the way to this, as well as some other stuff. This is now a reading vlog. That's what we're saying. This is the last half of my week reading vlog. I gave Such a Fun Age 3.5 stars, by the way. It was, I think, a debut novel, and it did show within the story, but it did have a great cast of characters, and the storyline itself is important. I just don't think it was as executed as well as it could have been, but I think that Kylie Reid has a very good future in novels, so I will read more from her if she publishes more. There you go. There's your little wrap up if you didn't see my February reading wrap up / vlogs. That said, I actually got that book for myself for my birthday. I have finished another book. So in my last update, I talked about how I read There by Tommy Orange. So I finished that. And I started another audiobook that was recommended to me by Kylie, who I'll have linked down below, called The Chain. I can't remember the author's name, Adrian something. Which is a like thriller horror novel, because I'm really in the mood for horror. As I mentioned, I started The Changeling by Victor LaValle. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. It might be LaValle, but I think it's Laval. I've said it 3 different ways already. And we did finish it this morning, so it didn't get finished yesterday, but because I don't care about that shit anymore, I finished it this morning. Let's get back to the chain for a second, because I started that yesterday and I listened to like almost half of it in one day, because again, I wasn't feeling well, so I was trying to distract myself. True story, sometimes when I'm not feeling well, I also get anxiety about not feeling well, and then they kind of chicken and the egg, don't know what comes first, but they both make each other worse. And the only thing I can do besides trying to just breathe through it is distract myself. So I was listening to a lot of audiobook yesterday. The Chain is a story about, well, it's called The Chain. And what happens is when you get pulled into it, it's because someone that you love has been kidnapped. And the kidnapper calls and says, so-and-so, typically a child, because most people will do anything for a child, but like that's not always 100% going to be the case for like a spouse or a sibling, you know? So it normally goes that a kid is kidnapped, the kidnapper then calls the parent of the kidnapped and says, I have your kid. If you want them to not be killed, you have to follow these instructions. You have to deposit X amount of money into Bitcoin by this date, and you also have to kidnap the next person. You're now part of the chain. And until the person you've kidnapped, the child of, or the person of, has completed their tasks, you won't see your kid. So your kid gets freed once the person you've kidnapped kidnaps the next person. So it's pretty fucked up. And if you're a parent, it's pretty hard to read, so forewarning on that. And it's like a thriller horror novel, so know that there's a lot of like trigger warnings for murder and like mental escalation and just a lot of stuff. But I am ripping through it. It is very gripping and intriguing and scary. And the reason I'm talking about it first is because there were some parallels between it and The Changeling, which is namely that social media and the internet and technology has really exposed us, and part of it is our own fault for putting as much information as we do out there for anybody to see. It's basically, as is said in this book, inviting people into your home. Like, vampires have to be asked to enter your house. Well, with technology, no one has to ask. They can see in. We've got cameras on, like, over the crib, and we've got cameras over the kids' bed. And I've heard horror stories about cameras getting hacked by other people and people talking to children through them, and that kind of shit. It happens. You know, people put tape over their cameras on their laptops and their computers. Both of these stories, this and that, play off of that idea. Finished The Changeling this morning, and I gave it 4.5 stars. It's not a full 5 stars because I did leave the story with some questions that I think were not tied up, and I would have liked to have seen them tied up a little bit more. But it was a wild ride, and parts of it reminded me in the style and the storyline of my favorite novel, which is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. So if that's something that you liked, I think that the writing style of this and the kind of the flow of it would really jive well with you. I was afraid for a while, trying to say this without giving anything away. I was afraid for a while that the characters that were women were going to be written off as just crazy. But Victor did not do that. He gave them power and he empowered the women. And I really, really appreciated that in the novel, instead of it being like everything was their fault and they're crazy. The story also has to do with kidnapping of children, whereas The Chain is a lot more, well, it's wholly focused in humanity and how wicked humans are, and like there's a greater scope of humans with power that can hold it over the rest of us. This was fantastical. There are witches, there are more than just witches in terms of fantastical elements of it, but I don't want to give anything further than that away. I'll just say there's witchcraft within this book. I am not familiar with witches and witchcraft and witch practices, so I don't know how those of you that do practice that would feel about how it was represented in here. I cannot speak to that, but for what it is and what they were utilized as, I think it was fun and an interesting way to take the story, and I just really, really liked it. We had a really great time buddy read it with my friend Jamie, and I really had a great time reading it, and it was exactly what I wanted to read in the moment. I just wasn't feeling middle grade, and I wasn't feeling nonfiction, so this is what I picked up instead. I'm still on a horror kick, which is why I'm listening to The Chain. I don't know what I'm going to listen to next, but I asked on Twitter for some suggestions and got a bunch, and I will likely check a lot of those out. But if you have any recommendations for horror novels that aren't just Stephen King, not really in the mood for his horror, and like that's primarily what you know, get suggested is King books when you're like, I want paranormal horror, but also I think next I'm going to tackle a giant fantasy. Stay tuned for that. I don't know if I'll vlog it. I might vlog it. It's 1,000 pages. It's gonna take me a while, so I won't really have a whole lot of content, but that's what I think I'm gonna do. I have errands to run. I don't really want to go do them, but you know, kids need to eat. Damn them. But yes, I recommend this. I would say this, as well as, what else did I read this month? Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, my other favorite books. The Changeling by Victor Laval and Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson are my top 2 books of the readathon. I recommend both of them. Nothing to See Here is a very weird, magical, realist story that reads contemporary and is a very short read. This is a little bit longer read, comes in at 431 pages, but it moves very fast. The chapters are quite short, like 2 to 5 pages a piece typically. And if you were looking for a thriller horror, slight paranormal novel that reads like adult literature at times, like the first, I don't know, third of the book, I recommend this. So it was a good reading week. Did I complete challenges for the week? No. Am I sad about that? No, because I did technically read 7 books in 7 days. And who can be mad about that? Let me know down below how your reading week went and what you've been up to lately. That's it. I can't believe July is coming to an end already. That's crazy. Time flies. August is going to be stressful. I'm going to do my best to keep up with reading at this level. As I said, I like to read when I'm anxious, and so that's why I read a lot. I think that sometimes it probably comes off crazy that I read so many books in a month when I have 3 children, and it's not that I ignore them. I feel like I need to PSA that I spend a lot of time with them, especially when school will start back up, which is mid-August. But for my own mental sake, for my own mental health and my own well-being, I read a lot to take myself out of the body that I've been given. That is it. And yeah, I've hit 103 books this year so far, the end of July. My goal had been 100, so we're flying through. I'm hoping to hit 150 now. I think that's possible, but as I said, I'm going to tackle some big books, and they might take me a longer time. So we'll just see how it all pans out. Am I right? All right, I'm gonna go get these errands out of the way, and hopefully this vlog will go up soon. And yeah, I hope you had a great weekend and that this week treats you well and that you are doing good things for yourself and taking time out to breathe and rest and get some sleep, drink some water, yada yada. All right. Thanks for being here, guys. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, social media is down below. I'll see you in the next one.